Kia ora, I'm Billy Osteen.
Kia ora, I'm Darren Gravely.
We're from the University of Canterbury, and so through collaboration with Rotorua Canopy Tours and Doc, we've been able to capture this so that we can share it with you.
And you know, I guess it's our backgrounds and our interests that have brought Billy and I together to do this project in this area on the Mamaku Plateau next to Lake Rotorua, studying volcanic rocks. So I'm a volcanologist, but I've always learned to appreciate the forest and the things that grow on top of the rocks.
And we have had the privilege of coming up to Rotorua to do a bit of virtual field trip creation that you will be
immersed in the forest, right?
Immersed in the forest, exactly.
If you can't actually get into the forest, we're going to take you there virtually. What an awesome door.
It's actually from Christchurch.
I can say. Yeah. Very Lord of the Rings.
Weird sounding bird.
This is awesome. Just the engineering that's gone on to like make this all happen.
We'll actually stop there and we'll have a good look around. It's a pretty neat spot. This plant is bush asparagus. Well, that's called. It looks like asparagus.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
There we go.
Yummy.
So this one tastes a bit like green beans.
Pretty fresh.
Yeah, real fresh.
So the best thing to do with this one is leave from the right hand side of the steps.
Okay.
That leaves you perfectly straight.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks.
That's it.
Just right over here?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
My name's James Fitzgerald. I'm a director of Rotorua Canopy Tours. The story of Rotorua Canopy Tours goes back to 2008. Always really interested in tourism and looking for ideas to start my own business in it. In one of those jobs, I started to hear about ziplines were emerging overseas as a adventure tourism activity, much like maybe bungee jumping or skydiving or various other tourist activities that grab the imagination of travellers. We talk a lot about why New Zealand is so unique in the world, but often the forests are overlooked about what's so special here. We see a lot in our offshore promotions of mountains and lakes and beaches, and you can do that anywhere, but you can't encounter these types of forests anywhere in the world. The theory was if we could find that here and showcase it using these zip lines, much like in Costa Rica where they were a transport into the canopy rather than a thrill ride, then we'd have the making of a pretty cool experience that we could probably share with people.
Hey guys, my name's Eloise Roxburgh. I'm the Customer Experience Manager here at the Rotorua Canopy Tours, and as part of the Rotorua Canopy Tours we get to enjoy this beautiful native forest here. My background, I've done a science degree, so I've always been into my plants and things. My dad here, I got sort of brought up in the forest, going for bushwalks and things like that, so always appreciated it. Conservation side of things, the importance of conservation in New Zealand. So the apple didn't fall far from the tree, I guess you could say.
So over the last decade or so in New Zealand, there's been a strong movement of communities and individuals getting involved in conservation. We've got people coming in and enjoying it, getting that wild experience that few places in New Zealand will actually provide. This being a virgin piece of forest or close to it, you've got an experience there which is quite unrivaled in many places. So conservation, a unique experience for the visitors.
Hey guys, so here we are in the Danzy Road Scenic Reserve. This is a hardwood podocarp forest. We do have a sort of a dominant canopy species here. How do we know what plants are around us, what species we see in this forest? There's a few different ways we can identify trees. For a start, we can look at the ground, we can look at the leaf litter and what we see. Cool, so when we're at the ground level here, we can see lots of the characteristics of plants coming out. So down here we can see the leaves, we can see anything that's fallen on the floor here to help us identify what the plants are. But what happens when you've got these really big trees like these ones here? And that species there is a tawa tree. We know that by the type of bark or the trunk on the tree, by the mosses growing on the tawa tree. and we know that by sort of the leaves. We've also got some large trees sort of dotted throughout, which are our podacat, our rimu trees. Quite a hanging sort of willow look to the leaves there. So the structure of the forest can show sort of what types of species we've got as well. We've got ferns and things like that that just stick to the sort of low levels. You can see the bark, you can see the leaf litter down there, but it's really hard to see any flowers or berries coming out that would help us identify what that species is. So how do we get up there? So like we've talked about, one of the dominant species in this forest here is the tawa tree. We've got some really big old tawa trees in here, a few hundred years old. We've actually even used them as foundations for our platforms. Now it doesn't hurt the tree, the way we've constructed platforms to have minimum impact on the forest. This one up here we're about to walk up to actually has a platform wrapped around it. So we use it as a foundation for our platforms.
So one of the most amazing features here on our Ultimate Canopy Tour is our walk around this massive pit of ignimbrite here.
So I'm Robbie Van Dam from Good Nature, so one of the co-founders. We've been around for 16 years now. Our mission is to rewild the world. So Good Nature's mission has been to bring biodiversity back to the world. The partnership grew out of a desire to return this piece of forest back to health. All of the time spent checking traditional traps meant that it was impossible to do the work that's needed to also pay the bills. So showing people in this piece of forest, needed to be undertaken, but at the same time you have to control the invasive species and then get on with the business of showing people what it is that they're restoring, this beautiful piece of forest.
How you feeling, Billy?
Good.
Good, good. So you do like a lot of outdoorsy when you can?
Yeah.
It's hard to mess around when you're like at heights. All right, feeling good?
Yeah.
Good to go.
Landing of a professional. Very nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Where we are right here is actually still inside the Rotorua volcano, which we call a caldera. So if you live in New Zealand and you know Mount Ruapehu, that mountain is about 150 cubic kilometers of material that's erupted over 300,000 years, where the lake now sits at Lake Rotorua.